I was sorting the mail at the kitchen island. It was a Tuesday. The morning sun cut across the granite in a clean, warm rectangle. I remember the feel of the paper, a utility bill, a catalog, a bank statement in a windowed envelope. I slid my letter opener under the flap. It was a ritual, 35 years in this house. 35 years of opening mail at this counter. My husband, Martin, had built it for me. He said a kitchen should have a place for paperwork as well as pies. I always thought that was funny. He's been gone 8 years now. The rhythm of my days is quiet. It is built around small, sure things. The mail at 10. Coffee at 2. A walk at 4. My son Leo called every Sunday at 7. Like clockwork. He lives 3 hours away. He is a financial planner. Very successful. His voice on the phone was always warm. A little hurried. Full of concern. How are you holding up, Mom? Do you need anything? You're not overdoing it, are you? I would assure him I was fine. I was always fine. The house was paid for. My pension from teaching was modest but steady. Martin's life insurance had been wisely invested. I was comfortable. I was careful. I balanced my checkbook every month. I used a spreadsheet. Leo started calling on Wednesdays too. Just to check in. He said a Sunday call wasn't enough. He worried. I told him not to. But it was nice. A mother likes to hear from her son. Then the offers of help began. Small things. Mom, let me handle your property tax payment this year. It's online. It's easier for me. I'll just need your login. I gave it to him. It was easier. He was right. A week later, he suggested consolidating my investment accounts. You have 3 different statements. It's confusing. Let me move them to one platform. I can get you a better rate. I'll set up a login for you to view it. I hesitated. Martin had set up those accounts. But Leo was a professional. He knew about these things. I sent him the statements. He said it was done. He emailed me a new login and password. I could see the balance. It looked right. It was one less thing to think about. That's what he said. One less thing. Then it was my healthcare proxy. We should update it, Mom. The old one has Dad listed. You should put me, just in case. He sent me a form to sign. I signed it. He said he would file it with my doctor. I trusted him. He was my son. He cared. The Wednesday calls became longer. He asked more questions. How much are you spending on groceries, Mom? That seems high. Are the stairs getting to be too much? This is a big house for one person. I told him the stairs were fine. The house was my home. He said he was just thinking ahead. For my own good. Planning is what he did. It was his job to see around corners. I began to feel a subtle shift. A rearrangement. My life, which had felt like my own, was slowly being moved to a shelf I could not quite reach. I could still see it. But I needed help to get it down. Leo was always the one offering the help. Then came the wedding. My granddaughter Clara was getting married. Leo's only child. My heart swelled for her. She was to be married in Napa Valley. A beautiful, distant, expensive place. Leo called me about the arrangements. We've booked a block of rooms, Mom. But the venue is very hilly. The ceremony is on a steep lawn. There are a lot of stairs. He paused. We think it might be difficult for you. The travel, the terrain. We've discussed it. We all think it might be better if you watched from home. We'll set up a live stream. You'll have the best view. No stress. I held the phone tightly. The granite counter felt cold under my other hand. You all think. Who is we all, Leo? Clara, he said. His voice was soft. So reasonable. She's worried about you. She doesn't want you to strain yourself. We just want what's best for everyone. You understand. I did not understand. But I said nothing. The silence stretched. He filled it. It's settled then. We'll get you the link. You'll save on the travel. At your age, it's really for the best. He said, at your age, like it was a medical condition. A limitation that required management. I hung up the phone. I looked at my hands on the counter. They were 72 years old. They had graded thousands of papers. They had planted a garden every spring. They had held my husband as he took his last breath. They did not shake, but they felt unfamiliar. I was being erased. Not with a shout, but with a murmur. Not with a push, but with a careful, steady pull. For my own good. I watched the wedding on my laptop. The stream was perfect. High definition. I saw Clara's smile. I saw Leo give her away. I saw the hillside. It was not steep. There was a gently sloping path. A ramp was clearly visible at the edge of the frame. No one mentioned the live stream during the toasts. No one waved at the camera. I was a ghost in the machine. Polite. Invisible. Safe. After the wedding, the pace changed. Leo visited in person. He brought his wife, Margaret. Margaret brought a binder. We've been thinking, Ellen. This house is a lot. The maintenance. The stairs are a fall risk. We found a wonderful senior community. It's a continuum of care facility. Lovely apartments. Meals provided. Activities. You'd have so much more social interaction. She opened the binder. There were brochures. Floor plans. Financial breakdowns. The buy-in was substantial. It would require selling the house. It's the logical next step, Leo said. He was standing in my kitchen. Martin's kitchen. We can handle the sale. The move. You won't have to lift a finger. We just need your power of attorney to make it smooth. That phrase, power of attorney, it landed in the quiet room like a stone. I'm not giving you power of attorney, Leo. My voice was calm. It surprised me. He looked surprised too. Then concerned. Mom, it's just a document. It lets me help you. Legally. So I can talk to doctors if you're sick. So I can manage your bills if you're forgetful. He glanced at Margaret. We've noticed some things. Haven't we, Margaret? Margaret nodded. Her expression was gentle, pitying. The time you forgot about the dentist, Ellen. And last week, you left the stove burner on low. I saw it when we arrived. It's just little things. But they add up. I had not forgotten the dentist. I had rescheduled it. The stove burner had been for the soup I was reheating for their arrival. I told them this. Leo smiled. A sad, patient smile. Say, that's not what happened. We were here. We saw it. It's okay, Mom. It's okay to need help. That was the first lie. The first clear, deliberate rewriting of reality. It was not the last. The Sunday calls stopped. The Wednesday calls became interrogations. Did you pay the water bill? The bank said the check was odd. Did you take your medication today? Which one? Describe it. I began to write things down. A small notebook. I noted the time. I noted what was said. I noted the facts. I paid the bills online. I took screenshots of the confirmations. I filed the emails. I began to check the investment account he had set up. The login still worked. The balance was there. But something felt off. The statements were generic. They showed a total figure. No list of holdings. No transaction history. Just a number. I called the 800 number on the statement. It was a large, well-known brokerage. After a long hold, a representative came on. Thank you for calling. How can I help you? I gave the account number. I'd like a detailed transaction history mailed to me. For the last 2 years. There was a pause. Keys clicked. I'm sorry, ma'am. I can't discuss this account. It's a custodial account. You are listed as the beneficiary, not the owner. My breath left my body. It was a small, silent exhalation. Who is the owner? The custodian. Another click. The account owner and custodian is Leo Brennan. That's your son. He would have full discretion over assets. You would need to speak to him. I thanked her. I hung up. I sat at the kitchen island. The sun was gone. The room was gray. My pension and Martin's insurance. My life's financial cushion. It was not in my name. He had not consolidated it. He had transferred it. He owned it. For my own good. I did not call him. I did not cry. I opened my notebook. I wrote down the date. I wrote down the time. I wrote, called brokerage, account is custodial, Leo is owner, I am beneficiary. The words looked strange on the page. Clinical. I needed more. I needed proof. Not of his betrayal. I felt that now. Cold and sure in my chest. I needed proof of my own competence. My own continuity. I made an appointment with my doctor. My regular physician had retired. I saw a new young doctor named Patel. I told her I needed a comprehensive physical, including a cognitive assessment. Any particular concerns? She asked. My family is concerned about my memory. I am not. She nodded. She ordered the tests. A week later, I sat in her office. She had the results. Physically, you're in remarkable shape. Blood pressure is excellent. Cholesterol is better than mine. She smiled. The cognitive screening. The Mosier test. You scored a perfect 30 out of 30. No indication of any impairment. Now or in your recent history. Would you like a copy of these results? I would. I took the paper. I had it notarized at the bank the next day. I made an appointment with a lawyer. Not the family lawyer. Leo used him too. I found my own. A woman named Alicia Vance. Her office was in a quiet brick building downtown. I brought my notebook. I brought the notarized medical report. I brought the few financial statements I still received. I told her the story. I did not embellish. I did not get emotional. I stated facts. Dates. Conversations. The wedding. The custodial account. The pressure for power of attorney. She listened. She took notes. She did not interrupt. When I finished, she sat back. What is it you want, Ellen? I thought for a moment. I want my assets returned to my sole control. In their entirety. I want a legally binding statement that no guardianship or conservatorship is needed. I want my son removed from all legal and medical documents. And I want to ensure he cannot initiate such proceedings against me in the future. She nodded. What you're describing is financial elder exploitation. It is also the groundwork for an unjust guardianship petition. He is building a case. The missed appointments, the stove, the confusion. It's a pattern. We need to move carefully. But we need to move first. Her plan was procedural. It was slow. It was built on paper. The first step was a formal demand letter. It required Leo to provide a full accounting of the custodial account. Every deposit, every withdrawal, every fee. It gave him 30 days to respond. We sent it by certified mail. His response was not on paper. It was a phone call. His voice was not warm. It was hard. What is this, Mom? A demand letter. From a lawyer. Are you serious? This is embarrassing. I'm trying to protect you. And you're sabotaging yourself. Do you know what this looks like? This is exactly the kind of erratic behavior we're worried about. Hearing a lawyer against your own family. I'm going to have to show this to people. To explain. I said nothing. I let the silence hold. He filled it. It was a habit of his. I'm not sending any accounting. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand it. The money is safe. That's all you need to know. I think you need to see someone, Mom. A specialist. This paranoia isn't healthy. I spoke then. My voice was quiet. Flat. You have 27 days left to comply with the letter, Leo. After that, we proceed to the next step. I hung up. My hand was steady. The next step was a petition to the court. Not for guardianship. For the opposite. A petition to terminate the custodial account. To compel an accounting. To declare me fully capable. It was a preemptive strike. Alicia filed it. The hearing was set for 8 weeks away. A court date. Leo was served. His reaction was a lawsuit. 2 days after being served, I was served. He and Margaret were petitioning for temporary guardianship. They alleged I was a vulnerable adult, that I was making reckless financial decisions, that I was exhibiting signs of dementia, that I was isolated and susceptible to undue influence. By my lawyer, no less. They included affidavits. From Margaret, from Clara, from a neighbor I barely knew, who stated she had seen me wandering confused in my yard. I had been looking for a lost gardening trowel. The legal machinery began to grind. It was slow. It was heavy. It was expensive. Alicia explained everything. Guardianship proceedings are invasive. They will appoint a court investigator, a visitor. They will interview you, interview your friends, examine your home. They will make a recommendation to the judge. We have to cooperate fully, but we have to guide the narrative. With facts. The court visitor was a woman named Sarah. She was in her 40s. Pleasant. Professional. She came to my house. She sat in my living room. She accepted a cup of tea. She asked me questions about my daily routine. about my health, about my finances, about my relationship with Leo. I answered honestly. I showed her my notebook, the one I had started. It was now a detailed log. I showed her my medication organizer. Each pill was accounted for. I showed her my calendar, meticulously kept. I showed her the notarized medical report. She took notes. "May I see the kitchen?" she asked. I showed her. It was clean, orderly. "May I see the stove?" I showed her. She nodded. "And your bedroom?" We went upstairs. I walked slowly, deliberately. I did not use the railing. I wanted her to see I did not need it. The bedroom was neat. The bed was made. She asked to see my closet. I opened it. Clothes were organized. Shoes were in boxes. "Do you drive, Ellen?" "Yes." "Would you be comfortable taking me for a short drive?" "To the grocery store, perhaps." We drove to the market. I parallel parked perfectly on the first try. We went inside. I navigated the aisles. I found the items on my list. I paid with exact change from my wallet. Sarah observed it all. She said little. When we returned, she gathered her things. "I will be speaking with your son and his wife. And your granddaughter. I will also speak with your physician. And your lawyer. I will file a report with the court. Thank you for your time, Ellen. You have a lovely home." I did not ask what she thought. I knew better. The waiting was the hardest part. Leo called again. He sounded different. Confident. "Just withdraw the petition, Mom. Drop the lawyer. We can drop the guardianship. We can go back to how things were. This is costing a fortune in legal fees. Your money, Mom. You're spending your own money to fight your own family. How does that make sense? A judge will see that. They'll see how irrational you're being." I realized then he truly believed it. He believed his own story. That he was the responsible one. The caretaker. I was the confused, stubborn, aging parent. Needing to be managed. For my own good. The belief was his armor. It would make him convincing. "The hearing is in 4 weeks, Leo. I will see you there." The weeks passed. I maintained my routines. I tended my garden. I balanced my checkbook. I documented everything. Alicia prepared our exhibits. My medical records. My financial records from before the transfer. My logs. She subpoenaed the full records from the brokerage. They arrived. A thick packet. We went through them. Line by line. The initial transfer from my accounts was clear. Then there were quarterly management fees. They were high. 5 times the industry standard. Paid to a company I did not recognize. Alicia looked it up. It was an LLC. Registered in Leo's name. He was charging me exorbitant fees to manage my own money. Then there were withdrawals. Substantial ones. 8 months ago, $25,000. For a property investment. 4 months ago, $15,000. For tax liability. 2 months ago, another 10. For consulting fees. The money was moving. Out of the custodial account. Into places I could not see. We organized it into a timeline. A chart. It was simple. It was damning. The day of the hearing arrived. I wore a navy blue dress. Simple. Professional. Alicia met me at the courthouse. Leo and Margaret were there. Clara was with them. My granddaughter would not meet my eye. They had a lawyer too. A man in an expensive suit. He looked bored. We sat at separate tables. The judge was a woman. Judge Reynolds. She had a no-nonsense manner. She called the case. She summarized the petitions. One to terminate a custodial account. One for temporary guardianship. She looked at the court visitor's report on her desk. I have read the report of the court visitor, Ms. Hill. I will hear brief arguments. Then I will rule. Leo's lawyer spoke first. He was smooth. He talked about duty, concern, a loving family stepping in. He described the stove incident, the missed appointments, the erratic legal actions. He painted a picture of a woman in decline, a woman who needed protection from herself. He finished. Judge Reynolds turned to Alicia. Ms. Vance. Alicia stood. She did not raise her voice. Your Honor, this is not a case of a family seeking help. It is a case of a son seeking control. We have here a notarized medical report. It shows no cognitive impairment. We have the petitioner's own daily logs, demonstrating consistent, rational self-management. And we have the financial records. She approached the bench. She handed up our chart. The timeline. The respondent transferred his mother's assets into a custodial account he owns. He then began charging her extreme, self-determined fees. He made large, unexplained withdrawals. This began only after he secured her healthcare proxy, and intensified when she resisted giving him power of attorney. The guardianship petition followed only after she legally demanded an accounting. This is not about care. It is about covering tracks. Leo's lawyer objected. He called it speculation. Judge Reynolds looked at the chart. She looked at the visitor's report. She looked at Leo. Mr. Brennan, you are a financial planner. Is that correct? Leo stood. He looked confident. Yes, Your Honor. And the LLC that received these management fees. That is your company. A slight hesitation. Yes. And the withdrawals for property investment and consulting. Can you provide documentation of those investments? Or the services rendered? Leo cleared his throat. They were internal transfers, Your Honor. For her tax planning. It's complex. The money is still within the overall estate strategy. Judge Reynolds looked back at the chart. The money left the custodial account. Where did it go? Leo's lawyer stood. Your Honor, this is a guardianship hearing. The details of investment strategy are not. They are directly relevant, the judge interrupted. The petition alleges financial recklessness. I need to understand whose financial decisions we are examining. She looked at Leo. Answer the question, Mr. Brennan. Leo faltered. He looked at his lawyer. The lawyer gave a tiny, almost imperceptible shake of his head. I don't have that documentation with me, Your Honor. It would take time to compile. Judge Reynolds nodded. She looked at the court visitor's report again. Ms. Hill visited Mrs. Brennan's home. She observed her drive, shop, manage her medications. She found her organized and coherent. She found no evidence of impairment. She also interviewed you, Mr. Brennan, and your wife. She notes in her report a concerning focus on Mrs. Brennan's assets and a pattern of contradicting Mrs. Brennan's accurate recollections. She closed the file. She took off her glasses. I find the petition for temporary guardianship to be without merit. In fact, I find it to be an improper use of this court's protective processes. It is denied. Leo's face went pale. Margaret put a hand over her mouth. Regarding the custodial account, I am terminating it, effective immediately. All assets are to be returned to Mrs. Brennan's sole ownership within 14 days. A full and itemized accounting of all transactions, including the destination of all withdrawn funds, is to be provided to Mrs. Brennan and this court within 21 days. Failure to comply will result in a contempt hearing and a referral to the district attorney's office for investigation of financial exploitation. She looked at Leo. Her gaze was level. Cold. Do you understand the orders, Mr. Brennan? He could barely speak. Yes, Your Honor. Good. Case dismissed. The gavel fell. It was a small sound. It echoed in the silent room. We stood. Alicia touched my arm. She smiled. A small, tight smile of victory. I felt no triumph, only a vast, hollow relief. Leo walked past our table. He stopped. He looked at me. His eyes were not filled with love or concern or even anger. They were filled with a kind of shocked calculation. The math of his plan had failed. This isn't over, Mom. His voice was a low whisper. You'll see. You can't manage alone. Something will happen, and I'll be there. I'm still your son. I looked at him. I saw the boy I had raised. He was gone, buried under layers of greed and self-deception. No, Leo, I said, my voice as quiet as his. You are my former custodian. You have 21 days to provide the accounting. Your lawyer has the details. I turned. I walked out of the courtroom with Alicia. The sunlight outside was bright. It felt clean. The accounting arrived on the 20th day. It was delivered by a paralegal from Leo's lawyer's office. A thick envelope. I opened it at the kitchen island. The same island. The same light. The accounting was convoluted. It tried to obscure the path, but the destination was clear. The property investment was a down payment on a vacation condo in Colorado. Title was in Leo and Margaret's names. The tax liability and consulting fees had gone into their personal joint account. To cover, the note said, estate planning consultation and family coordination services. There were no supporting contracts, no invoices, just my money moved into their lives. The total taken was just over $80,000. Alicia reviewed it. We can sue for restitution. It would be an easy win, but it would drag on. It would keep him in your life. I thought about it. I looked at the numbers. I thought of the Colorado condo, the family coordination services. What if we don't sue? I asked. What if we use this as leverage? For a final resolution. Alicia understood. She drafted a simple agreement. A release and severance. It stated that upon the return of the full $80,000, I would release all financial claims against Leo and Margaret. I would also voluntarily sever all legal ties. He would be removed from every document. The healthcare proxy, the beneficiary designations on my remaining accounts. Everything. In return, he would agree never to petition for guardianship or conservatorship again. He would have no claim on my estate. He would have no legal standing in my life. It was a financial and relational divorce. She sent it to his lawyer. The message was clear. Pay back what you took, or we go to the district attorney with the court-ordered accounting. It was not a threat. It was a choice. He chose to pay. The money was wired into my account. The new account. The one only I controlled. The papers were signed. They were filed with the court. It was done. That was 2 years ago. Leo did not call. No cards on my birthday. No Christmas visits. Clara sent a birth announcement last year. She had a baby. A boy. I sent a gift. A savings bond. It was returned, unopened. The address was incorrect, the note said. I did not try again. The quiet of my house is deeper now. It is not lonely. It is mine. I refilled the bird feeder this morning. I watched a cardinal land. His red was brilliant against the green leaves. I thought of Martin. I thought of Leo as a small boy. He loved cardinals. He called them red birds. The memory was sweet. It did not hurt. It was just a memory. A thing that happened long ago. I still keep a notebook. Old habits. I write down small things. The first frost. The title of a good book. A recipe I want to try. I am rebuilding my investments. Slowly. Carefully. With a fee-only advisor, I interviewed for an hour. I ask more questions now. I read every line. I have made new friends. At the library. In the gardening club. We talk about plants. Not about family. My story is not unique. I know that now. I read articles. So many stories like mine. The quiet betrayals. The legal theft disguised as love. I do not feel special. I feel alert. The other day, I received a piece of mail. It was from the Alumni Association of the school where I taught. They were updating records. They asked for next of kin. For emergency contact. I stared at the line. I picked up my pen. I left it blank. The question lingers, not on the form, but in the quiet spaces of my days. When protection becomes possession, how do you ever trust a hand offered in help again? The seasons turned. The maple in the front yard blazed orange, then shed its leaves. Snow came. A quiet, thick blanket that hushed the world. I learned to use the snow blower Martin had bought years ago. It was heavy, but it started on the first pull. I felt a small surge of pride each time. My pension deposits continued. My new investment statements arrived. They were detailed. They listed every holding. Every fee was a single, clear line item. I reviewed them at the kitchen island. With a cup of tea. It was a new ritual. One of verification. Not of trust. Spring arrived. The crocuses pushed through the cold earth. I was in the garden when a car pulled into the driveway. It was not a car I recognized. A man in a suit got out. He carried a clipboard. Mrs. Brennan. Yes. I'm from the County Department of Aging and Adult Services. We've received a report. A concern for welfare check. My hands, coated in garden soil, went still. A report from whom? I'm not at liberty to say, ma'am. It's anonymous. But we're required to follow up. May I come in? I showed him inside. He looked around. He noted the cleanliness. The order. He asked to see the kitchen. The stove. The refrigerator. He asked about my meals. He asked if I felt safe. I answered everything. Calmly, factually. I showed him my medication organizer. My calendar. He took notes. Do you have any family, Mrs. Brennan? I have a son. We are estranged. He wrote that down. And the nature of the concern was self-neglect, potential hoarding, confusion. I almost laughed. It was so absurd. But I did not laugh. I understood the game. This was a new move. If the court would not declare me incompetent, perhaps social services could find me at risk. That could lead to a different kind of intervention. A voluntary service plan. Or another petition. As you can see, I said, gesturing to the neat living room. There is no neglect. There is no hoarding. He nodded. He seemed satisfied, but also obligated. We may have a caseworker call to offer some services. Meal delivery. A home health aide. Just to check in. You can decline, of course. But it's good to have support. I thanked him. I walked him to the door. I watched him drive away. I did not go back to the garden. I went to my desk. I opened a new document on my computer. I titled it Incident Log External. I recorded the date, the time, the man's name, the agency, the allegations, hoarding, confusion, self-neglect. I saved it. I printed a copy. I filed it in a new, expanding folder. I labeled it Post-Judgment Activity. I called Alicia Vance. She listened. It's harassment, but it's subtle. Anonymous reports to social services are hard to trace, and agencies are mandated to investigate. It creates a paper trail, a pattern of concern. It's meant to wear you down, to make you seem like a recurring problem. We can send a cease and desist letter, but without proof of who made the report, it's generic. I thought for a moment, what if we don't try to stop it? What if we document it better? What if we turn their paper trail against them? Alicia was quiet. Then she said, explain. Every time they send someone, I cooperate fully. I demonstrate my competence. I get the names. I get the case numbers. I request copies of their reports. I build a file that shows a pattern. Not of my decline, but of their persistent, unfounded harassment. After a certain point, it becomes evidence of abuse. Elder harassment. She agreed it was a strategy. A slow one. But it was procedural. It was factual. It played to my strength. Patience. Documentation. 2 weeks later, a woman from a different agency called. Meals on Wheels. She said they had a referral, that I was on a list for meal delivery. I told her I was not interested. I asked for the referral source. She said it was confidential. I asked for her name, her supervisor's name. I wrote it down. I filed it. A month after that, a local police officer knocked on my door. A wellness check. A concerned neighbor had reported not seeing me for days. I had been to the grocery store that morning. I had receipts. I showed him. He was apologetic. He gave me his card and the incident number. I filed it. Each event was a pinprick. Annoying, but not damaging. In fact, each interaction ended with a professional confirming I was fine. The social worker. the meal service coordinator, the police officer, all left with the impression of a capable, organized woman being bothered by an anonymous, malicious source. My folder grew thicker. I began to anticipate the patterns. The reports came every 6 to 8 weeks, always from a different angle, a different agency. I started preparing for them. I kept my house impeccable. I made sure to be seen in the neighborhood. I chatted with the postal carrier. I became a visible, active presence to counteract the narrative of the isolated, declining woman. It was a quiet campaign, fought not with arguments, but with appearances, not with words, but with evidence. Then the tone shifted again. It moved from welfare checks to reputation. I was the treasurer of the garden club, a small volunteer position. I managed a petty cash fund for plant sales, maybe $200. One afternoon, the club president, Beverly, called. Her voice was strained. "Ellen, I've had a disturbing call from someone claiming to be a family member. They said, they said you've been having trouble with your finances, that there was some sort of legal problem. They were worried you might be confused about the club's money." I felt a cold drip down my spine. This was new. This was an attack on my community standing, my credibility. Did they give a name, Beverly? No. It was anonymous. But they knew details. About your son. About a court case. It sounded so concerned. I didn't know what to think. I took a breath. "Beverly, would you be willing to meet me for coffee? I can bring the club ledger. And some other documents. I think you deserve the full story." We met at a small cafe. I brought the garden club ledger. It was balanced to the penny. I also brought a copy of the judge's order dismissing the guardianship. Not the details, just the first page and the conclusion. I laid it on the table. Someone is trying to damage my reputation. That someone is likely my son. We had a falling out over money. He took me to court to try to gain control of my life. The judge saw the truth. She denied his petition. She condemned his actions. He is not a concerned family member. He is a disgruntled former custodian who is now engaging in harassment. Beverly's eyes widened as she read the order. She looked from the legal paper to the neat, handwritten ledger. The contrast was stark. "Oh, Ellen, I am so sorry. I should never have entertained that call. It just sounded so plausible." "That's the point," I said softly. "It's designed to sound plausible, to plant a seed of doubt, so that even if you don't believe it fully, you look at me differently. You hesitate before asking me to be treasurer again. You mention it quietly to another member. The damage is done." Beverly reached across the table. She put her hand on mine. "The damage is not done. Not here. You have my full confidence, and I will shut down any such talk I hear. This is despicable." I thanked her, but I knew it wouldn't end there. If they tried with the garden club, they would try elsewhere. My church, the library volunteer board. Anywhere I had a shred of social connection. I needed a more permanent solution. A final barrier. I went back to Alicia. I showed her the new file. The social services visits. The wellness check. The call to the garden club. "It's escalating," she said. "It's moving from bureaucratic harassment to social sabotage. It's harder to document, but the pattern is clear." I had an idea. What about a protective order? A restraining order? Based on this pattern of harassment? Alicia considered it. It's possible, but a standard restraining order requires a threat of violence or stalking. This is more psychological and reputational. However, some states have provisions for elder abuse protective orders. They cover financial exploitation, neglect, and emotional abuse. Harassment qualifies. The burden of proof is lower, and the consequences for violation can be severe. It would be a nuclear option, Ellen. It would make any reconciliation impossible. I looked at the folder, at the timeline of events that had continued for over a year after the court case. There had been no reconciliation, only a war of attrition. There is nothing to reconcile, Alicia. He is not trying to reconcile. He is trying to win by other means. I want it to stop. Permanently. We drafted the petition. It was not angry. It was a dry, chronological recitation of facts, starting with the financial exploitation, the denied guardianship, the returned funds, then the subsequent campaign, the series of anonymous reports to social services, the police wellness check, the defamatory call to a community organization. We attached exhibits, the court order, the social worker's cards, the police incident report, a statement from Beverly. We filed it. A hearing was set. This time, Leo was not just a respondent. He was the subject of a petition alleging he was abusing his elderly mother. The stakes were different. This was not about money or competence. It was about conduct. He could be ordered to stay away from me, to not contact me, to not use third parties to contact me. Violation would be a crime. When he was served, he finally broke his silence. Not with a call to me, but with a letter from his new lawyer. It threatened a defamation suit if I did not withdraw the frivolous and malicious petition. It claimed I was attempting to destroy his professional reputation, that I was a vengeful, unstable woman. I showed the letter to Alicia. She smiled. It's perfect. It's an admission that he knows about the petition. And it's a threat. More evidence for the judge. Do not respond. We did not respond. The hearing was in a different courtroom. A smaller one. This judge was older. Judge Morris. He had a weary look. He read the petition. He looked at Leo and his lawyer, then at me and Alicia. This is a family matter, he said, not as a question but as a sigh. Alicia stood. Your Honor, it ceased being a family matter when financial exploitation was established by this court. What remains is a pattern of harassment, designed to undermine Mrs. Brennan's independence and standing in her community. It is a continuation of the same goal, control. Leo's lawyer stood. He was aggressive. Your Honor, this is a shocking overreach. My client has had no contact with his mother for over a year. He has no knowledge of these anonymous reports. She is blaming him for the natural concerns of her community. As she ages, people notice things. They report things. To blame her son is paranoia. It proves the point of the original guardianship petition. Judge Morris held up a hand. Mr. Brennan, you are a financial planner. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. And your mother's money was returned to her after the previous hearing? Yes. Under court order. A pause. Yes. And have you had any contact with your mother since that time? No, Your Honor. None. Judge Morris looked at the exhibit list. The petition includes a statement from a Beverly Clayton, president of a garden club. She states she received an anonymous call. The caller knew details of the prior court case, details that are not public record. Who, other than you and your legal team, would know those details? Leo's lawyer jumped in. Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation. Sustained. But the question hung in the air. Judge Morris looked back at the timeline. The rhythm of the reports. Every 6 to 8 weeks. Starting 2 months after the financial case ended. I am issuing a temporary protective order, Judge Morris said. His voice was tired but firm. It will prohibit any contact, direct or indirect. That includes third-party contact. That includes anonymous reports to agencies. A full hearing for a permanent order will be set in 90 days. At that time, I will expect clear and convincing evidence. From either side. He looked at Leo. Mr. Brennan, if so much as a pizza delivery is sent to your mother's house as a prank, it will be considered a violation. Do you understand? Leo's jaw was tight. Yes, Your Honor. The temporary order was granted. We left the courtroom. The temporary order worked like a charm. The anonymous reports stopped. The phone calls to community groups stopped. The quiet siege lifted. For 90 days, there was only peace. My life resumed its calm rhythm. But I knew the final hearing was coming. Alicia prepared meticulously. She subpoenaed phone records. Not Leo's personal ones. That was too broad. But she subpoenaed the records for the landline at the garden club's listed number. For the day of the defamatory call. She got the incoming call log. There was one call from a number labeled unknown. But the duration was logged. 2 minutes. She then subpoenaed the records for Leo's office phone. A number we had from old correspondence. She asked for records for the same day. The same time window. It was a long shot. But it was a procedural shot. The phone company records arrived. They showed an outgoing call from Leo's office line to the garden club's number at the exact date and time of the anonymous call. The call lasted 2 minutes and 3 seconds. It was a match. It was not conclusive proof that Leo made the call. Someone in his office could have. But it placed the origin of the call at his place of business, right at his desk. Alicia was pleased. It's a thread. If we pull it, the whole fabric might unravel. But we have to be careful. We can't accuse him of lying without absolute proof. We just present the facts and let the judge connect the dots. The day of the final hearing arrived. I wore gray, a neutral color. Leo and Margaret were there. Clara was not. Their lawyer looked tense. Judge Morris took the bench. He had our full petition. And Leo's response. His response denied everything. It claimed the phone record was a coincidence. Perhaps a colleague had used his phone. He had no knowledge. Alicia presented our case. She walked through the timeline. She presented the records of the agency visits. She presented Beverly's statement. Then she presented the phone records. She displayed them on a simple chart. 2 columns. Date, time, duration to from. The garden club log. Leo's office log. The match was visually undeniable. Leo's lawyer objected. This is circumstantial. It proves nothing. Judge Morris peered over his glasses. It proves a call was made from the respondent's office to the victim's community organization. On the day a defamatory call was received. That is not nothing. Mr. Brennan, did you make that call? Leo stood. No, Your Honor. I did not. My phone is on my desk. Anyone could have used it. A colleague. A cleaning person. I was in meetings all that day. Judge Morris looked at him for a long moment. Do you keep a log of your meetings? A calendar. Yes, of course. Could you provide that calendar to the court to verify your whereabouts during that call? Leo froze. His lawyer stood quickly. Your Honor, that's a fishing expedition. It's an invasion of privacy. The petitioner has the burden of proof. She has not met it. Judge Morris leaned back. He seemed to be weighing something. Not just the evidence, but the whole sad story. I have seen enough, he said finally. The prior finding of financial exploitation is established. The subsequent pattern of harassment is documented. The phone record, while not definitive, provides a compelling link. It shifts the burden. I find it more likely than not that the respondent is responsible for a campaign of harassment against his mother. I am granting a permanent protective order. It will remain in effect for 5 years. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. Furthermore, given the nature of the harassment involving false reports to state agencies, I am referring this matter to the county attorney for consideration of criminal charges of filing false reports. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell. This time, the sound was final. Leo stared straight ahead. He did not look at me. He looked at the wall. His face was a mask of pure, calculated defeat. He had lost in every arena. Legal. Financial. Now, criminal repercussions loomed. We walked out. The air outside was crisp. Fall was coming again. Alicia turned to me. It's over, Ellen. Truly over. He won't risk a criminal record. Not with his profession. I nodded. I felt empty. Cleansed. But not happy. There is no happiness in these things. Only the cessation of pain. The return of quiet. The first year under the protective order was deeply peaceful. The silence was no longer just an absence of noise. It was an absence of threat. I planted new rose bushes. I joined a book club. I traveled. A small trip to the coast. I had always wanted to see the Oregon shoreline. I went. I walked on the beach. The wind was fierce. It scoured everything clean. When I returned, there was a letter in the mail. It was from the state's Professional Licensing Board for Financial Advisors. It was addressed to me. As a concerned party, they were investigating Leo Brennan. Based on a court referral, they requested any information or documentation I might have regarding his professional conduct, specifically as it related to the management of my assets. I sat with the letter for a full afternoon. I thought about sending everything. The court orders, the accounting, the timeline. It would likely mean the end of his license. His career. I made a pot of tea. I watched the bird feeder. The cardinal was back. I thought of the small boy, the one who loved red birds. That boy was gone, but the memory was mine to keep, or to release. I decided to send only the final court order from the guardianship case, the one where the judge denied his petition and condemned his actions. I included a brief note. I was the client in this matter. The court's findings speak for themselves. I did not send the harrowing details. I did not send the proof of theft. I let the judge's words stand. It was enough. It was factual. It was dignified. I mailed it and let it go. I learned later, through the grapevine of an old family friend who didn't know the full story, that Leo had received a suspension. 6 months. And a permanent mark on his record. He had to work under supervision for 2 years. He moved his family out of state. Some said to Colorado. To the condo. I did not verify it. It no longer mattered. My life is my own now. Fully. Completely. I have updated my will. Everything will go to a scholarship fund for future teachers. At the college where I studied, my name will be on a small plaque. Not as a mother. Or a wife. But as an educator. A benefactor. It feels right. The house is still quiet. But the quiet is a companion now, not a void. I have friends over for dinner sometimes. We talk about books, politics, the weather. They know I have a son. They do not ask. I do not offer. It is a closed chapter. This morning, I was back at the kitchen island. Sorting mail. A magazine. A bill. A letter from the Scholarship Foundation. The sun was in the same rectangle on the granite. My hands, now 74, opened the envelope. They were steady. I read the letter. They thanked me for my planned gift. They said it would change lives. I set it aside. I looked out the window. The garden was dormant, waiting for spring. The structure of my days is still there. The small, sure things. But the unease is gone. The vigilance has softened into simple awareness. I am here. I am whole. I am free. The story is over. The justice was quiet. It was procedural. It was slow. But it was absolute. I sometimes wonder, in these quiet hours, if he ever thinks of me. Not as an obstacle or a resource, but as a person. I wonder if he ever hears a cardinal's song and feels a pang of something real, something uncalculated. I will never know. And that, perhaps, is the final dignified distance. The one question that remains is not about him, or the money, or the law. It is about the space that was left behind. When you excise a betrayal that was once called love, what grows in the soil where that root used to be?